Welcome back to Duda Dojo, your source for the latest Duda news, platform how-tos, and product updates. I'm Jessica, and in this episode, we discuss the value Duda brings to small businesses. So let's jump right in. Matt and Madison, let's talk about the Duda system and why it brings such value to small businesses who are looking to develop websites. I know that Duda's implemented a lot of AI tools this year. They've really expanded the offering there. Matt, I would love to know what you think of those AI tools, how they're going to offer benefits to small businesses who maybe they don't have the resources to produce content or blogs, et cetera, that you might expect a larger company or organization to do.
And I think that's the key. Like talking about small businesses in particular, it's typically either a one-man show or something like that. People that are trying to have a startup, trying to get their business rolling.
Yeah.
They need to have a website, a marketing tool.
We say they need to have a website.
Right.
We don't always know they need to have a website.
but being able to get digital visibility is totally the name of the game. Like it's still, the statistics are high. They hover right around 90% of all purchase cycles, whether they're B2B or B2C, still start with Google.
Yeah.
So like having a website that you can actually utilize is the key. And it's really what RivalMind gravitated towards Duda, being able to use their platform to be able to utilize, when we create a website, can we give it to somebody and let them actually take the reins and use it?
Okay.
And so to your point, when you're short on resources and you are the one that has to go in there and spin up pages or do any of the things, like Duda has begun to add all sorts of things, AI content generation, being able to control meta tags in one place, like those are the types of elements that we can direct, people that don't end up doing our services to utilize on their own.
Yeah. So a small business owner doesn't have a lot of time, as we mentioned. We're talking about the AI tools. What suggestions would either of you have for a small business owner if they are going to AI generate content for themselves? What should they consider, both from like the content itself, but then, Madison, the SEO advantages, what do they need to be thinking about?
Yeah. So I think I've said it about 1.5 million times. I'm a little blue in the face now, but AI is not a one-stop shop. It's not a click and go tool. It can get you pretty close, but you do still need to sort of have that human touch, that human interaction, especially now that Google is getting smarter with its AI and we now have the AI overview and it's starting to rank AI pieces. It's really important that we are still providing users with something of value.
Yeah.
And AI, unfortunately, just cannot replicate human understanding. It can get pretty close, but you need that sort of final push over that hill.
Yeah.
But if you are sort of journeying down that highway, I think the first thing as a small business owner that you'd want to build is service pages, pages that specifically explain what you do.
Imagine that. You'd want service pages or something that explains what your business actually does on your website.
Right. We talk about it at the office, like your website should be one of your top salesmen.
Absolutely.
And if your top salesman doesn't tell your customers or your potential customers like what it is that you're capable of doing, like that's not a very good salesman.
Right. Yeah.
You're doing it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So building out those pages, really detailing, finding keywords, playing around with the language that you're using. If you don't know what a keyword is it hardscaping in Chicago or is it, I do pools. You don't want to just say I do pools. You want to be, you're a pool construction company. Really get nice and granular, get nice and gritty.
Yeah, I love that.
The key is, what do you have on your website that Google can latch onto?
Exactly.
And, it's all about indexing. It's all about finding those rankings. So what is indexing? It's it's Google's way. Google's stated purpose is to collect and organize the world's information. And so Google is trying to give every searcher the most relevant answer to any query that they type into their platform. So Google is using all of the third-party data that it knows about everybody, and it's trying to match up. This person is looking for this particular thing, but they're in this location and they've looked at these other things. So the more that on your own website you can flesh out what it is that you're doing and where, like that, those are the granular nuggets that Google can latch onto to be able to give you that ranking and match you up with that searcher.
Yeah.
So, it's like Google has a giant filing cabinet. It's like just kind of combing through and it's like, oh, yeah, this person needs this thing right now.
Yeah. So it sounds like the content, what's being said is super important. So even though those AI tools are available, it will generate it. You really need to read through that and you need to discover what is that content that you're really trying to communicate, because you could have a paragraph about a service, but that just might not be enough for those Google tools.
Right. And really kind of we're bumping into the difference between a small business owner attempting to do SEO themselves versus what it is that we do day in and day out. And we perform SEO for small businesses, across the nation.
Yeah.
So being able to decide, is it worth my time to learn how to do keyword research, to understand what is Googlebot doing when it's indexing pages? Do you understand header structure? Do you understand, the necessity for alt tags on all of your images? Like being able to delve into that world, if that's something that you love, there's an opportunity there to save yourself some money.
Yeah.
If that's not what your wheelhouse is, companies like RivalMind exist literally to help those companies thrive.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of an art and a science for sure.
Yeah, we should definitely touch on that. What I want to do is get into, I have a site open where we can just kind of example some of the settings where a user might locate them. But we absolutely should come back and discuss, like, when does a small business owner make that decision of like, okay, my resources are already limited. Now I have to educate myself on how to even be found on Google. And then when might be the breaking point of when they're like, let me just hire an agency to do this work for me. So I'm going to jump into this site here. And you can see here, I'm just going to, the way Duda has it laid out is just really fantastic. The left-hand navigation here. I'm going to jump in the SEO and settings, and then I'm going to jump down to the SEO nav item here. So this is a new feature, the new SEO overview. I love how you can build in your business information. And so when you go to generate that AI content, it will actually use your business profile to do that with. I'm not going to show that today because we just kind of want to high level it. But another great feature is generating tags with AI. So those page titles and tags, if you don't know you don't have the knowledge on how to write those, you can use the AI tool to actually do it for you. So obviously for this client, we have it filled out within our realm of expertise. But if I did have some blanks here, I would have the opportunity to use the available AI. And then one other thing I want to touch on here are the page settings. So you can really check out the settings for any one of these pages by editing page SEO. And you see you have the ability to here adjust the meta title if you don't want to do it as everything all at once. And then you can decide, should this be a page that's indexed? You can also include different page keywords. What I love about Duda is I saw they did update this, that they now have acknowledged that Google doesn't really see dumping in keywords as a whole as having a ton of value for your website.
Since 2009, that hasn't really been a thing. They're kind of tipping you off.
Which is another indicator of why you might want to hire an agency that knows what they're doing. But you can adjust page URL and then also obviously schema on the page itself. So there are other features in here that a small business owner could use within the Duda system to spin this up quite easily. But let's talk about, when should a small business owner make that decision? Like, I've had enough. I really want to generate traffic to my site and get these conversions, get these calls, get these contact form fills. At what point do you say, this is it, I need to find an agency? And then why would RivalMind be the right one for a small business?
Yeah. I mean, it can be a full-time job.
Oh yeah.
Being intentional about creating content in the way that we've been talking, like being intentional in what it is that you're creating is really the key.
Sure.
Because you can create content, like you were saying, Madison, you can chat GPT.
Till you're blue in the face, absolutely.
Right, till the cows come home. But if there isn't any research behind it, if there isn't any targeting, it literally is the difference between I'm a pool contractor or I install pools.
Yeah.
Like looking at the data to show, actually pool contractor is searched 600 times, versus I install pools is 25.
Sure.
And just being able to do those types of comparisons are going to give you the best shot to be able to rank.
Yeah.
And so it's not just, I need to fill in the blank where my page title is or my meta description is. It's, am I intentionally understanding what's being searched?
Absolutely.
And then utilizing the tools that Duda has for my website to be able to use those page titles, those meta descriptions, those H tags to be able to get it indexed. That's the difference in my mind.
Yeah.
That intentionality is so key, because you may get lucky. You post a blog and maybe you get lucky and it ranks. But having someone who's willing to do it and go through all of the research, all of the keywords, find your competitors, that is such an edge that I think a lot of business owners are lacking, because you just don't have the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you might not even know how to start. I mean, you brought up key points there. Our team takes the time to research your industry, understand your tone of voice, write in your tone of voice. There's so much that an agency could offer a small business.
The last piece for that is the consistency.
Yep.
And even those who have the best of intentions that are trying to do this on their own, if they're running a business, it's one of the first thing that falls off, like, yes, all of that intentionality and trying to stay consistent, like those are the things that are going to continue to attract Google's attention to come back and re-index consistently because they know that there's always fresh content.
Yeah.
If your website becomes stale and things like that, that's why your rankings fall off.
Yeah.
It has to be continually done.
And SEO is such a long game. You can't just put a whole bunch of effort up front and like hope that it sticks.
Yeah.
Like you said, you highly have to be intentional and consistent.
Yeah.
Right. Consistency over intensity.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a really good point, because people, especially small businesses, tend to work with smaller budgets and they want results quickly. So SEO, like you mentioned, is a long game. Talk to me about the experience with that. How do you produce the results for that? And really, what should be the expected timeline for a small business owner who has hired an agency to anticipate some type of results? I see you smiling, Matt.
I have this conversation.
You're going to say it depends. You're going to say it depends.
It depends. Yeah. So really where we're starting is the key. Like, you do have to be consistent. But as far as it depends. It comes down to, well, what are you trying to attract? Who are you trying to attract?
Sure.
Is this a local business? Is this a national business? And what does your clientele look like? And where are they coming from? And what are they searching for?
What are you already working with, in regards to your domain?
Yes.
Sure.
100%. And what are you doing on social media? And like all of the other things. But like the most cut and dry answer is, you must, bottom line, you must be consistent for at least 6 months to even get the ball rolling in the right direction.
Yeah.
Typically, we say between 6 and 12 months is where you start to see a budding, spike in the building blocks are always, you need to get keyword rankings. They generate traffic. Traffic generates conversions. Those are always the building blocks. But in order to get keyword rankings at all, you have to spend some real intentional time doing it. And that's the way that it should be. That's why Google has continued to survive, is because it can't be gamed.
Yeah.
Like I
love that.
You have to do it right.
Yeah.
You can't manipulate the system. They always sniff out who's trying to game
stuff.
it.
You can't just like slip in a bunch of things in the copy somewhere and just hope that it's not found.
Right.
So we're not trying to manipulate it. We're just trying to give Google exactly what it is that it wants. And we're doing it consistently. And really around the 12-month mark, you can see like, okay, this is the benchmark of where we started.
Yeah.
And here's where we're at now. I can see that this does work. And then you can make the decision to either invest more or continue at the same rate that you are. But really, it takes about a year.
Yeah.
It is a long-term marketing strategy.
So a year is a safe range. It sounds like a workout. It sounds like you start a new workout routine and you want abs. You're going to have to consistently and with intentionality work at it to get the result that you're looking for.
Can't go to the gym in one day for 9 hours and become fit.
Yeah, I love that. So if I were a small business owner and I was watching this and I said, that's it, I'm going to go spin up my website today, outside of the awesome templates that Duda offers, not talking from design or aesthetics, that's a whole different conversation. What are a couple of tips that you would give someone to when they start? What are like closing tips that you would give someone when they start a website?
So we sort of touched on this a little bit earlier, but making sure that you've got your services really laid out, everything that you offer under the sun. And then you can start to get more granular, making sure that you've got conversion points, places where people can call you, contact you, email you, get in touch with you in any way, shape, or form. Building out things like location pages, which are really targeted towards, your specific service areas, either where you're thinking that customers will be willing to drive to your HQ or where you're willing to send out providers to service, homes, businesses, things like that.
Yeah. I love that.
Then you can start to sort of worry about like top of funnel content, hitting all of the sort of broad search queries or searches that people are just performing on a daily basis. Like, oh my goodness, my sink is clogged. How do I undo that?
Yeah.
And you can sort of take them through that informational journey. But I would say you want to hit your commercial, your transactional, and then your informational searches.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, it really is online reputation management.
Yeah.
So growing in your expertise, your authoritativeness, your trustworthiness, like those are the things that you touched on last. So like, I think, Madison's right. Being able to understand, are we nationally focused? Are we locally focused?
Sure.
Is this a service area business? Are you actually going to go to somebody's home? Are they coming to your, brick and mortar location?
Yeah.
Like those are really, you need to figure that out. And then you need to be communicating that clearly because Google is the one that's now going to interpret that information and help you rank.
Yeah. And if you don't want to do any of that, call RivalMind.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. And we'll totally do it for you.
We'll do it for you. We'll do all of it for you. Thank you, guys.
Hey, if you like this dojo, try out this one or subscribe to our channel for more content.